The goal is to hit some high points on the show today. Raymont Harris, if you watch no other CHGO Bears show in the next week, watch this one. The Ultraback, a great interview, touching on all the topics. It's coming up, and it starts right now. Yes, indeed. Make or break. We're going to do that to start the show today. And the Ultraback is here. Raymont Harris, 1994, 1997. One of my favorite, it's called Under the Radar Chicago Bears. With a deep discussion coming up today where Gregory shares about himself, I share about myself, the Ultraback shares about himself, as we're talking about being the best person you can be, and also a ton of football as well. Gregory, good to see you. We're on the road today. I'm live in Iowa City, Iowa, as I'm taking a friend weekend here to watch the tournament. And there you go. I got the Hawkeye helmet for you there, buddy. They don't.
That looks like a real one, like one that was game used.
Yeah, I'm at a huge sports fan's house. A major player in Iowa City doesn't want to be. I won't give his actual job details, but I got like official baseballs
license
around
and
there.
registration.
Yeah. Well, exactly right. We were in Spanish class together. I made it through Spanish class. He failed out and went for Latin, but that was a couple of 30 years ago at this point.
I know
which
that
is
you guys
frightening.
are going hunting of some sort, and so I may or may not have wished some Dick Cheney upon you, but we'll see. I hope you have fun. I'm out in St. Louis, as this is the traveling band here of the CHGO Bears podcast, and Purdue takes on Queens here tonight. Kentucky and Santa Clara are the early slate here in St. Louis. And there are so many Santa Clara fans out there that this is what embodies the March Madness tournament. They haven't been in the tournament since 1996 with Steve Nash. So I think all of Santa Clara is in St. Louis right now. So shout out to them.
Hey, it's a Friday, so you do a super chat. You get right in. The three pepperonis is rocking here. On the road with the fam, coming back to Oklahoma, spoonbill fishing. And my guys are on 700 miles, staring me in the face. Thank God for CHGO. Three pepperonis, we got you. We're going deep for you today, three pepperonis. We're going to touch the innermost part of the three pepperonis. Full crispy episode coming up here with Raymont Harris. But Steven, I don't know if you're ready to jump on the mic here, but if you'd like to apologize or take offense with what Bragg said yesterday, throwing you under the bus for not doing
you both threw me under the bus. You both did that. And if I really want to pull the receipts, I'll go into Slack where I'll say that I did say this is not worth an emergency pod for a backup linebacker.
You said that.
There was also a response from Carm saying I wasn't serious about the emergency pod.
Well, that's because and that's why I pointed the thumb at myself. I should have been more serious about it. I should have realized that we should have done it. It's ultimately it's on me. I don't blame you two because you guys obviously follow my lead on everything that goes on around here.
What's interesting is I don't think anyone thought it met the criteria of emergency podcast, but so many people know you for your antics now and know you for your love of Sanborn that's why it was appropriate for a breaking news pod, just for you specifically to have your Sanborn moment. So honestly, it should have been an emergency pod that featured only you.
Right, which ultimately, that's why we're going with the thumb. Steven, my apologies to you for throwing you under.
Apology accepted, Carm, and only Carm.
Thank you. So some people on the show are willing to say that I'm sorry. And others are not. I can't figure.
I am not, and I'm not going to apologize to whatever viewer puts in the comment that at 4:50 is when we start football talk.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to apologize to you guys if I yell at you if you don't remember that this is a branded segment, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, we wouldn't ever do that because we're always on point, especially me. And hey, we actually have a topic that we want to get into because we are looking towards the future. And by the way, on the back end of the show, I was listening to Dan Roushar, the Bears offensive line coach, on another pod that we'll shout out at the back end. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. But let's take the temp right now with our friends at Four Seasons, your trusted local experts for heating, air conditioning, plumbing, sewer, and electric. They've been serving Chicagoland for over 50 years. And we are taking the temp on the future and looking at some guys right now with the Bears contract needs and perhaps paying Caleb, who knows, after year 3. I wouldn't bet on that, but I wouldn't bet against it either. Who really is on the bubble that they better have a big time year in 2026, so they'll be back here in 2027. And, we put at the top of the food chain, pretty aggressive one, and that is Rome Odunze going into year 3. He stepped back last year. Let's be honest. It was phenomenal at the beginning of the season, but wasn't able to stay on the field and just didn't have the production that he wanted. I think we all believe in Rome, but I think the Bears, when you consider how they might have to address the roster and what their trade pieces could be, it feels like a pretty big year for Rome coming in here in 2026. That's aggressive, but we put him in the mix.
This is year 3 of Rome, right? Did I miss a year that this is now year 4? I'm not worried about Rome Odunze one bit. How quickly I'm excited for Luther Burden too. And may the best man win of whoever wants to have the proverbial wide receiver 1 tag to their talent. I think they both have capabilities of this, but I'm not coming off the flag that I planted at the top of the mountain before last season started and in saying that Rome Odunze is your number 1 wide receiver. I still believe he is your number 1 wide receiver. And before he got hurt, he was essentially scoring a touchdown in every game they played. And so it's very encouraging to see the chemistry that Caleb Williams developed with Colston Loveland and Luther Burden at the end of their rookie years. But that doesn't change the 3 years of chemistry that will have been built by the time next season rolls around. So I understand we want to put him in the make or break category, but I am not worried about Rome Odunze, and I look forward to him having, I guess, what we would call an official breakout year coming up in 2026.
Well, for the record, I'm not overly worried about him either. But if you factor everything in that happened last year, including his dad basically asking the Bears to trade the guy on a weekly basis, I just listen. And you named it. Right now, Caleb's connection with Colston is better. His connection even with Luther is better, which is pretty amazing to say that. But I think that feels right.
I mean, I feel like there's a little bit of recency bias there. Now, I'll go with you around the block that, the throws that he had to make to Colston Loveland were some of the most important throws of his short Bears career so far in Caleb Williams. So, to me, I mean, I'm sure the touchdowns were close with Rome, despite the fact that he had a bunch of games missed because of injury. But I will agree with you that the catches that Colston made at the end of the year were some of the most impactful catches that this franchise has seen for 6 years. So Rome didn't get to be a part of some of the bigger games at the end of the year. But I would push back a little bit to say that, it's much better with Colston just based off of the fact that they finished strong in 2026.
Yeah, but those were big moments. Steven, you got something?
I'm just going to cut in here and just play devil's advocate a little bit. So if players don't break out, if wide receivers specifically don't break out by year 3, there's a very low chance they're going to break out at all. And I know Rome was on that pace, but there's very few exceptions to this rule. I mean, I think of Antonio Brown and Devontae Adams kind of broke out beforehand, but there's Michael Thomas was one. He didn't break out until year 4 as well. With that said, there's plenty of wide receivers that have been selected in the top 10, like Rome Odunze, that busted. I mean, we had one here in Chicago, and Kevin White. John Ross was the combine merchant. He ran one of the fastest 40s ever. He was a bust. Justin Blackman, another guy, he didn't ever even stick in the NFL. So I mean, there's been guys before that didn't hit. We have this bias of just because he's a top 10 pick as a wide receiver, he's going to be a superstar. We need to see it in year 3. That's why I included this name on the list.
So direct all your hate mail towards Stephen Nicholas.
I love Rome Odunze. Love Rome Odunze. I think he's going to be great.
Nothing wrong with setting the bar high.
Devil's advocate here.
There's nothing wrong with setting the bar high in terms of what his expectations for this year are. And, I see, somebody saying in the chat, like, address the drops. Clearly, Scottish Bear saying address the issue regarding the drops. Totally get that. I can give you, a handful of excuses for Rome that, at the end of the day would be just that. But, this will be the second year in the offense for all these guys. He also had an injury, that obviously played a factor at the end of the season. He was dropping balls at the beginning of the year too. I would also encourage people to look at who the top teams in the league are regarding drops as a team. And they're some of the most high velocity throwing teams in the league, in the Rams and the Jags and the Bears. So when you throw a lot and you throw downfield a lot, you're going to have more drops than maybe, the Commanders who do a lot of dink and dunk stuff. So, I'm not worried. I'm planting the flag, and I'm super biased. We all watched me freak out on a draft stage once upon a time. He's a top 10 pick, and as Lance Briggs always used to say about Colson, top 10 picks got to play like top 10 picks. So there's nothing wrong with holding a higher level of expectation for him going into year 3. But he is capable of that.
I think he'll still go over 1,000 yards this season, but this is a big year, and I do want to see it. I want to see the health, and I do want to see the drops get mitigated.
Yeah, and listen, he's on the list because we're raising the bar for Rome in year 3. I think that's the way to look at this. I'll give you a couple other names that made the list here right before we get to our. It's a lengthy interview with Raymont Harris. We got about 45 minutes with him. We start out talking a bunch of football, and then we talk about what he's doing in the elite performance world. And Raymont shares a lot about his upbringing that I think, unfortunately, some people can relate to. And I think this is really going to be hopefully a relatable conversation from everyone that perhaps will, give you some momentum going into a weekend. At least that's my hope. So Montez Sweat, no one's going to argue with that. Dude's got to be hit a next level here. The Bears can cut him after the year and save $21 million towards the cap in 27. He's just gonna have to play better. I know he's been solid, but I think there's with hopefully an improved defensive line, that's a big hope at this point. We'll see what they do in the draft.
I mean, it's all on him, right? I mean, They didn't get Max Crosby. You're gonna draft somebody on that D line to help, but at the end of the day, he's still your leader on that defensive line. He had a solid season, I guess, is probably the most generous way of putting last year. Solid, I think, is fair. But if he wants to stay on this team or, get another contract from another team that's a bigger one, he's going to have a bigger level of production and something that warrants the second round pick they gave up to get him. Yep.
And then we moved over to Jaylon, who, it's almost surprising to say that, but look, the Bears can save $16 million after 26, and Jaylon's just got to show that he can be healthy. He's still in his prime, but he's getting towards the back end of it, and he wasn't healthy last year. So if you saw the same thing, then this would be, you would think that the Bears and Jaylon would not move forward. So
I think the last two guys they could have really good years, make it, if we're doing make it or break it, they could both have make it years, and the Bears could still choose to go in a different direction with both guys. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I would agree. And I do wonder if there's any market for either of them, more so Jaylon, because Bears have a little bit more depth that way. But as far as just, how the Bears are going to work their cap right now, because they're up against it, so they got to do some restructuring, trading, or something. The last one we're putting in here, I guess I'll give all three. Tyrique Stevenson entering the final year of his deal. I think that's obvious. I don't know what Greg's laughing about. Dio Dangbo, they can cut him. I'd say that ship's already sailed, but maybe he's got a chance to rebound and get to a third year. I'd bet against it. And then Jahdae Walker, we put him in there because it'd be a big opportunity for him. It's like a make or break performance year for him. Can you actually step in with some opportunity, or depending on how much the Bears do add a receiver via the draft and or I suppose free agency as well?
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying how big of a year this is going to be for Dio Dangbo here coming up. So no qualms with anyone on that list. I think this is a big year for TJ Edwards as well, with some of the linebackers they've brought into the fray. So it's certainly going to be interesting. I freaked out, Carm, because Santa Clara hit a huge three with 2.6 seconds on the clock. The crowd goes wild. Santa Clara up 73-70, and Kentucky throws a half-court heave to tie the game and push it to overtime. And if I had planned on doing this segment from the media room, you would have heard it. That place just exploded, and now Kentucky and Santa Clara are heading to overtime over here in St. Louis. So March Madness is officially here, and so I understand this is a big couple days, for sports fans, and so for those of you that are tuned in here watching it live, you guys are the true diehards here, the most hardcore of our fans, and we appreciate your love and support. And I know a lot of people will probably watch this show over the weekend as well, but it's just a really fun time of year. It's like 75 degrees out, the March Madness kicking off, draft right around the corner. Golf season's about to get underway. Purdue's going to go on a Final Four run. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, before we play our first interlude and then get to my guy, Raymont Harris, the Ultraback, would you like to name a high point of the show so far today, Greg?
No shade at one Adam Hogue. I've got my own things to worry about in the first round. The Boilers have lost to a 10 seed, 11 seed, a 12 seed, a 13 seed, a 15 seed, and a 16 seed in their illustrious tenure. But they've also had a lot of great things happen for them in the tournaments as well, and Final Four appearances of recent, Elite Eight appearances. So I'm looking forward to a little run. The Final Four is in Indianapolis. If Purdue could make it there, that city would be absolutely electric. I know we're going to take a timeout and get to Raymont Harris, but obviously got to give a shout out to Braden Smith, going to break Bobby Hurley's all-time record for assists in men's college basketball history here tonight. 1 assist away. That's a record that stood for about 35 years. And so been an honor to cover him the last 4 years, and Zach Edey before that. I'm a lucky man with my Purdue coverage, and now we get to be lucky with our coverage with the Chicago Bears and Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. So,
everybody check out Brags in the Stands tonight. It's a great show. I'm sure it'll be on at some point. It's Greg's true passion, and he loves
give me the true passion when you literally will be in tears over Northwestern games.
Yes, that's true. Maybe I should start a Carm in the Purple Pod. That'll do well. All right.
Carm in the Purple Pod. Please. Who is the guy that came to our Cubs events and was asking you to do a Northwestern podcast?
I love that guy.
Carm in the Purple Pod. This is it.
Yeah, I love that guy. His long sleeve catch thing is I carry it with me because it makes me feel good. All right, we're gonna get to Raymont Harris. Please hit me up on the Instagram with your thoughts on this interview if you take the time to listen to all of it, because I think hopefully people will enjoy it as much as we enjoyed doing it. So let's get to.
I'm excited for you guys to hear this, just to kind of cap off what Carm's saying here too. Like, Raymont obviously had a great tenure with the Bears and is doing a lot of things after his career, similar to Eric Kramer or Doug Plank. Some other former Bears are doing a lot of good after their football career. So it was really cool to get to know Raymont. Obviously, you were a little more familiar with his playing career, as I was just completely immersed with Michael Jordan back in the 90s, but definitely remember his playing days. And but it was cool to get to know the person, and yeah, we definitely get vulnerable, as me and Carm are good at doing. So hope everyone enjoys this conversation as you guys get into your weekend.
Elite Mindset and Performance is his website if you want to check it out, EMP. And I'm seeing people saying that I want to do a diehard meetup in Iowa City. If you're a diehard, get in the Discord. Maybe we'll figure something out on Sunday when I'm rolling back through. I don't know, one beer with Carm, Deadwood, Sports Corner, Mickey's, wherever. You tell me what's hot. Back in the day, those were some of the spots that I would frequent. But I gotta learn what's hot now in Iowa City. All right. On that note, we'll get to our guy Raymont Harris, the Ultraback. But first,
got to give a shout out to our good friends over at Xfinity. I'm missing Xfinity here today. I'm a proud customer of Xfinity, and so I'll tell you right now, you want to get in on their 5-year price guarantee because you want reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi, and you want to keep it at the same price for 5 years, and that is the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. It's a Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together. It doesn't matter how many people are using that Wi-Fi. They're in on the action. They're always going to make things work seamlessly. All devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment is included. So lock in on your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply. Good, better, best. That's Chicago's home to the most iconic 3-word slogan in American sports, and Bet365 is honoring that shirtless rally cry with a 3-word motto of their own, and that's early payout offer. You can hear them chanting it in the locker room now. Here's how it works. If the team you're riding goes up 10 points at any point in the game, like Purdue will do tonight, they'll pay out your bet right there on the spot. Seriously. That way you can get back to what really matters, and that's defending tavern-style pizza on the internet. We know that's where important. Bet365, where winning is everything. Once you turn off Lower Whacker and get the service back, download the app today. It's no Chicago handshake, but as far as great deals go, it's probably the next best thing. Bet365, where winning is everything. Download the app and use code CHGO365 at sign up today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Please gamble responsibly. Must be present in Illinois. $10 minimum deposit required. Bonus bet wagers excluded from returns. New customers only. 21 or older. Time limits, minimum odds, and term and conditions apply. In-app only. Void where prohibited.
The Ohio State University. I don't know why I just led with that. 6 years in the NFL. 4 with the Bears. 4th round pick, 1994. Really, in my college, I'm going to call them formative years, even though that should have happened earlier. The Ultraback is here. Raymont Harris, number 29, doing unbelievable work in the mental health space these days, which we're going to get into a ton. So, Raymont, bottom line, thank you for being here, taking time. We appreciate it. Greg, I know, was 8 years old when you were a rookie, but he remembers it almost as much as he remembers MJ. So, thank you for being here, my friend.
Thank you, my guy. I appreciate it. It's always good to have an opportunity to talk that talk with people from in my favorite city. So let's go get it.
So here, before we get into what you're doing now, I did a little research here. So I texted with our good friend Dave Wanstead today, and I asked him, like, well, what can you tell him about Raymont? Because I love the Ultraback, and his text back to me was, 1, he loved being called the Ultraback, and 2, he thought he was a running back. I thought he was a fullback, and he was one of my favorite players of all time. So
I appreciate that.
That's a cool thing. So tell us about it, because like people might not remember, you barely played in high school, yet got recruited to Ohio State because of the elite talent you had. You didn't really get on the field in Ohio State till the end, and now all of a sudden you're in the NFL and you're making plays. That's a crazy journey. That's not normally how it goes.
Yeah, it was absolutely one of those journeys that people would have never guessed that it probably would have happened. I didn't come from like a football powerhouse school. It was a small city, Lorain, Ohio, and I only started like 7 games in high school, but as you can imagine, like that film must have been incredible, but like Ohio State to still want me. So, and then getting to Ohio State and then like having to battle like guys like Robert Smith and Carlos Snow and Eddie George just to get on the field, and then not happening until my senior year. And then, getting to be a 4th round draft pick, and just knowing that I was a running back. And at each level of my life, was high school, college, as well as the NFL, coaches seeing more of a fullback at me in that fullback position, and me finally embracing it, and not just embracing it like in the NFL, but making it my own. And once I made it my own, which was you do the regular fullback stuff, but then you also sprinkle in like running back things and catching passes and being able to do all of that and carving out that niche and turning it into an identity of like the Ultraback. Yeah, man, it really was a dream come true.
What was that like, navigating through college? You mentioned kind of waiting your turn. and obviously you're going to a big school like Ohio State. So I'm sure the expectation for you was to get to the next level in the NFL. But when you have to wait your turn and like just trying to compare it to nowadays where, these kids are able to transfer out and go to different schools if they're not getting their opportunity right away. What was that like for you, and how important was that process for you to wait your turn, but know, hey, when I get my shot, I'm going to show everybody that I'm NFL ready?
Yeah, it was extremely important to my development. Now, of course, man, as a young person, you don't see it that way. You think that you're the best and you should be playing, and these guys don't know what the hell they're talking about. This offense sucks. I wanted to leave. And after like my second year, they tried to switch me to fullback, and I was like, I'm leaving. And I had like the most trajectory changing conversation with my strength coach. And he helped me see and understand that the way that I was showing up, I thought that I was the man, but I was really just like a bullshit guy. And once he showed me that and made sure that showed me like the reality and held that mirror up, I was able to kind of like humble myself to start pushing myself in the areas that I wasn't that strong in to make myself more of a complete player. But today, I'm just not sure like the guys, they're going to get that experience, because when you don't want to, when things are not happening the way that you want it to happen, these guys can transfer. They're getting crazy money and they can just leave and dip. And there's no guardrails. There's no limits to how many times you can transfer, it feels like. So I'm not sure that they're getting like that same like life lesson that has allowed me to persevere and be resilient at all levels of life, especially after football.
There's a certain level of confidence too, by the way. If someone's telling you you're a fullback and it'll get you on the field, a lot of guys would just listen to the coach. Like, I want to play, period. And so you had a sense of self that's fairly impressive for a young man right there. Do you think?
Well, you stood your ground, because when they drafted Jerry Azuma, Jerry's on part of our CHGO Bears team. He does shows with us weekly. He makes the joke when they called him. He's a running back in college. You're like, oh no, you're gonna play corner. You're gonna be in the.
He's like, okay, right. But you know what, man? I was so used to it because in high school they tried to tell me that, because there were two senior running backs that were like really good, but I thought that I was better. And they were like, if you want to play, move to fullback and then you can get on the field. And I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. My favorite player in the world was Walter Payton, and I wanted to be like Sweetness. So I was like, nah, I ain't doing that. And the fact that I persevered and I kept working and kept going at it, that set the foundation for me. So when it happened again at Ohio State, I was like, nah, I'm gonna grind and keep getting better, and then try to do it again like in the league. So I think there's kudos to like someone who feels like as strong as they feel about who they want to be, but it's also the same kind of mentality that ends up keeping them stuck and getting them thrown, discarded and pushed out of the league as well.
It's interesting that you bring up Sweetness, because I was watching your highlights today, and a lot of the highlights were you running 4 yards and just kicking the crap out of somebody at the end of the run, just being willing to throw yourself in there. That part of it where, hey, I'm, the Sweetness part of I'm not going out of bounds. I'm getting every inch that I possibly can get. How do you underline where you just, I don't care what's going to happen here. I'm just going to do what I'm going to play football to the hardest that I possibly can in this moment.
Yeah, man, I'm from that world. I'm from the 70s. So I grew up watching. I was a huge sports fan, and I loved Sweetness, loved Earl Campbell. I loved like these kinds of players, man. Like that was my day, and that's what I tried to emulate. So when I got on the field, it was just all straight up. Like I looked for contact. And I love a defensive lineman or a linebacker who's like 30 or 40 pounds heavier than me, thinking that they're going to stop me in the middle of the line of scrimmage. So I always took that kind of thing as a challenge. And the tricky thing for them was I also had the speed, to bounce it outside. But I was like, nah, I'm gonna go ahead and keep it in between the tackles. So. But you know what, man? I had a conversation with Jerome Bettis, and it was after my I think it was after my rookie year, maybe. We had played the Rams, and he had like this charity bowling tournament that I got invited to, and he told me I was good. He said, but man, you take a lot of unnecessary hits. You got to be careful with that. Sometimes you got to just, sometimes you got to, make the smart decision. And I was like, nah, I'm good. he has no idea how good I am. And what you learn is like that sport is so violent, man. Every game there's like hundreds of car crashes. And for a running back, man, you realize that you're only a play or two away from like your career being over. So that's why you see like guys that were like so amazing last year, and then in 1 or 2 years, like they're out of the league. And it's our body's not made for it, but man, the mentality of if I had to do it over, I probably would have tried to preserve my body a little more.
That's an interesting underline right there. And by the way, the Bears have won 5 playoff games in the last, you dated back to 1994, so that's 32 years, Raymont. You, of course, were a part of the one in 94, and what you just talked about, you bounced it out off of 2 tacklers, 29 yards to the left corner of the end zone against the Vikings with Steve Walsh at quarterback. You remember that run, I know, right? I mean, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite memory of the league, because we were underdogs. And I want to say we were probably 2 touchdown underdogs. The Vikings had pounded us twice that season, and no one gave us a chance. We snuck into the playoffs. We lost like the last 2 games, and we still made it. And no one gave us a chance. And they had Warren Moon and Chris Carter. They had a bunch of John Randall. They had a bunch of all pros on the team. And then we went out there and just manhandled those guys. And it was national TV. I want to say John Madden and Pat Summerall were on the call, and to have an opportunity, man, to be an underdog and then come to play against a team that's significantly better than you and do it on the biggest stage, man, it's one of my favorite moments.
Well, I guess I have to ask you then, while we're on this team and on this topic, somebody that I've been lucky enough to become good friends with here over the years and a good mentor of mine, Tom Waddle. I know so much of him, here as a media guy. But I'd love to hear your favorite Tom Waddle story as his teammate.
Man, T.Y., my guy. Now, that was 30-something years ago. T.Y. was a great dude. I remember he's like an Ohio guy, but ended up going to Boston College. When I think about it, man, I don't really remember any fantastic and fun stories with Tommy. I just know he was a great dude. He was a cool mentor. I know that life in terms of he was an underdog kind of type as well. Someone super reliable, catching passes over the middle, dirty work kind of guy. I always saw myself in a similar way that T.Y. showed up.
Yeah. Hey, listen, guys, I know spring feels like it's upon us, but don't be fooled. You know that third winter is still going to hit us here in the month of March. So you want to make sure your home is up for the heating challenge. Now is the time to schedule your Four Seasons furnace tune-up today with our good friends over at Four Seasons. And if you're thinking about a whole home generator, they have you covered. Nothing comes in more clutch than a whole home generator. At Four Seasons, they guarantee the same-day installation for all your heating, cooling, plumbing, electrical, and generator needs with no extra charge for nights, weekends, or holidays. Save up to $4,000 on furnaces and comfort systems. And furnaces start at $39 a month, and furnace AC combos from $57 a month. They are your trusted local experts for heating, air conditioning, plumbing, sewer, and electric. They've been serving Chicagoland for over 50 years. That's Four Seasons. So visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. And, of course, finally here, got to give a shout-out to our good friends over at Huel. Tell you right now, this is exactly how you want to get through your day, and that is with Huel, because they are the perfect solution for high-protein routine support, busy days, and convenience. They got 35 grams of protein, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, no artificial sweeteners, colors, or flavors. It's gluten-free. Best part is under $5 per meal. It's a complete meal. You can literally grab and go. Once again, under $5, way faster than meal prep, and it actually fills you up for hours. So if you're trying to stay consistent, this combo makes it stupidly easy. Limited time offer. Get Huel today with our exclusive offer of 15% off online with our code BEARS15 for new customers only. Thank you to Huel for partnering and supporting our show. Go to Huel.com/Bears15. If you're busy, this is a game changer.
Let's get people caught up to the present here, because you wrote a book, Raymont. It's called Control the Controllables, which is part memoir and part the mindset blueprint. Here it comes. There we go. Control the Controllables.
I was going to say, between him and Eric Kramer, who also we've had on, and he wrote a book that's pretty inspirational. I have it here, so I'll have to get a copy of your book. But I'm feeling like the 94 Bears are going to get me where I need to go in life. You know, you guys are, just inspirational post-career here. I'm loving it.
I appreciate that, man.
Well, it's super vulnerable. We're gonna dive. Just warning to the people on the podcast, we're about to get real here. So just if you're into that, strap in, because this is where this is really what I like to talk about the most. But you lost your mom at birth, so you never knew your mother. She passed away 4 years, I guess, from complications from the birth. Is that an accurate way of saying what happened, Raymont?
4 days. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to be raised by your dad, and you had two older siblings, plus 12 and plus 9, this is similar to me, not completely, but I had two older brothers, plus 20 and plus 15. It's not similar in that my mom passed away when I was 13, but it is similar in a way that I had a sister who I never met. And she lived to be 16. She was born complicated, dealt with seizures and whatnot. She passed away a couple of years before I was born. I haven't really ever talked about this on air. Just dawning on me. So I never knew her. So I always would say, like, I didn't experience that. It wasn't like I grew up in different. I didn't have what my brothers had growing up with a handicapped kid, but it impacted me in that my family was dealing with a ton of pain. Like that was still there. And when my mom passed, I witnessed my dad go through a really tough time. And my brothers are out of the house. I'm worried that I'm going to lose my dad too, because he was so distraught. So it's, and I know, like, just, reading about your journey, you dealt with, it wasn't just that you didn't have your mom. You were also dealing with an upbringing that was just compromised because of what happened. I don't know how much you're willing to talk about it, but it's just super interesting. I'd love to hear what you could share.
Yeah, sure, man. 10 years ago, you asked me that same question. I would not have been able to talk about it. This is something, unfortunately, that I have suppressed and compartmentalized my entire life. And what people don't realize is that, man, like when you grow up in the 70s, I was born like 2 days before Christmas. I was born, and my mom died. And my brother was 12, my sister was 9, and my dad, he had to take care of us. And I was just an infant. And, back then in the 70s, they had, traditional gender roles. My pops, he went to work. He was a provider. And my mother was the nurturer and kept the family together. She worked as well, but she's the person who would cook, meals and make sure people went to church and all that wonderful stuff. And just like that, man, it was destroyed. It was over. And I never had a birthday. I was abused physically and mentally. And it makes sense because, we didn't have any therapy or grief counseling. My father was sad and he was mean. And he grew up in a whole different time. So, at this point in my life, I now have grace and I can understand it for what it was. But, man, it was really, really difficult. And there was no one that I could talk to about it. Because as soon as you bring the subject up, it makes people sad. People start crying. They start avoiding. So I learned early on that just keep it to myself. So one of the reasons why I gravitated toward football was I used to get my ass beat at home. So I used to exact my revenge on others in football. And if you really think about it, you start peeling back the layers. It makes sense why I played the way I played. it makes sense why I was physical like that. And I always wanted to look for the contact, and I wanted to try and hurt other people because deep down I was extremely hurt.
That lines up 100%. When you're in pain, you want to dole it out. You want others to feel it because and people lash out in a million different ways. And it's a scream for attention. You also, like, you're dealing in a world where you're playing in the NFL where a lot of guys are maybe sharing the same things. I'm thinking about your journey. I mean, you played with Rashaan Salam, who took his own life at 42. I know that one of your great teammates from Ohio State, Chico, did this. Like this has impacted a lot of people that you were close to or around. I don't know how close. I know you're especially close with Chico. So it's like you see this world that you're living in, and it's like, and you've got this going on inside of you. That's got to be a crazy thing to try. Which is, I guess, it leads you into what you're doing today.
Yeah, it does, man. It's crazy is a good word to use. It's okay. Let's put it this way. Okay, imagine you're a doctor. You want to be a doctor, and you go to school, and you got these dreams of being a doctor, and you go to school, you go to your undergrad, and then you get to med school, and then you get to residency, and get to practice, and these other things, and then you finally get to be a doctor. And then you get to do it for 3 years and you're successful and it's great. And then they say, yeah, you're done. You can't be a doctor anymore. And so much of your time and energy, so much of your identity was all wrapped up in this stuff that you had sacrificed for, that you had worked so hard for. And then it's gone like that. So once that happens, and that happens to like so many guys in like the professional ranks, not to mention, as a man, a black man, growing up in the 70s and 80s, there was no safe space for us to say that we are afraid or to cry or to have someone rubbing our shoulders about something when things don't go right. So like what you learn to do is you compartmentalize that. And so you compartmentalize it, and then you throw yourself into your job and you work really hard and you get really strong, and everyone starts celebrating you and you cheering you, and everyone thinks you're cute now, and everyone's giving you money. And so now you're the man. And then all of a sudden it's gone. And that compartmentalized piece of you comes right back to the front. And now you don't have any of the things that you had before. You don't have the tools to be equipped to be able to handle that stuff. And then that's why guys start spiraling. That's why we turn to drugs. We turn to being promiscuous, drinking, all of those types of things, man. So when you think about how and why so many former players end up like having like a really difficult time with the transition, end up being broke, end up taking their lives. You just have to look back to like the history of men and how we came up and like all the things that we've gone through. And that's why it's been so important for me to embrace mental health, therapy. And when I did that, I started to become like more of the person that I've always seen myself to be. So in doing that, that's how I was able to, start Elite Mindset and Performance and write a book called Control the Controllables.
That's really interesting. Obviously, I mean, I definitely think you're speaking to a lot of things that I work through every day. I mean, I grew up with dealing with a lot of depression. I was had different therapists growing up, fought against every single one of them. Nobody can tell me anything even to this day. Yeah, and part of my story too is I was a bricklayer for 20 years and then now this is my 4th year doing this media full time. And I think one of the things I've learned or that has been a self-realization was I was a pretty angry bricklayer. When you went out on a job site with me and nothing was ever good enough, I would get everyone on the job site fired up because I just thought we needed to get more done. And I was just wired that way, that I just always felt like we weren't working hard enough. And that would piss a lot of people off on the job site. And I would get into it more times than not. And I thought coming to media that part of my life would be gone. I didn't really anticipate that when I came here that it would still be the same things. Like, and I've realized so much through the 4 years of how I'm wired and how much I have to fight against certain things that are just built inside of me. And so it's like they're good things that make me special, but they also can be to my detriment because of how I act at times. And so it's that part of it. When you talk about mental health, these last 4 years have really been a journey for me to grow up in a way that I never really acknowledged, and trying to work alongside people that, and work with them and not like at them, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense, man. And you end up choosing like a profession where, like, man, you guys are surrounded with that. You open up the lines. I remember doing talk radio. So like when I first started making my transition, I did talk radio and TV, and I did the sideline reporting for the Bears for a year, and I had a pre and post game show in Chicago and in Columbus. And as soon as you open up those lines for people to have conversations and opinions about like what's going on and what these guys are doing, and this guy sucks and he's dropping the ball, and the ownership is terrible, like all of that stuff is going on. And you, my friend, you have to, I think this is a good space for you, just judging from like what you just got done saying, because it allows you to now, like, as you get older and you get a little more like mature and more responsible, but it allows you to practice empathy and patience. Yep. And that ends up making you a better person and a husband and relationships and father and all that kind of stuff. So good for you. It's good that you ended up gravitating towards something that is causing you to have to continue to grow.
Yeah, well, we've had good teachers here. That's a big part of our company. And, from our producers to our GM to Mark here. Mark is patient enough to have very long conversations with me where we go deep into the well. And I do have to shout out Tony Gill, who the biggest thing he taught me in the last year was try to give people grace, because I don't do that. I'm constantly like acting like it's me against the world. And sometimes, you learn that people aren't doing things intentionally, and you have to kind of try to give people grace and give people the benefit of the doubt that everyone's doing their best.
Well, yeah, I'll step into the chair for a second here and just say that the empathy, first of all, you have to start with yourself. Well, it's a great place to start. I'll say it like that. Because if you can be empathetic for the things that you've done that you didn't love, then you can understand why you did those things, perhaps. And then, if it was anger, like what Raymont was talking about to his dad, who was completely out of place with the way you were treated, what you just shared. Like, how do you get to a point where you have empathy for that, for the pain that he was going through? That's a real tough journey to get all the way there. But if you can, it can open up a huge space for, just a whole lot, all sorts of possibilities to come in. I'm feeling a little emotion on that one.
I feel you, man.
Your company, Elite Mindset and Performance, Raymont, you do a lot of keynote speaking with this. I was checking it out, and I would love it if somehow, some way we could get you in at CHGO to do that someday. But one thing that stood out to me about one of your messages is flashes of brilliance versus consistency. And for me, that's a journey right there, to actually be the guy that gets up and does it right every single day versus I'm great on Tuesday versus, and then I'm like, that was great. Don't expect that from me again. Cause I want the expectation lower than I'm going to be doing this every day. So, how do you get people? And I think that's probably pretty universal, that people really struggle with being on that high level of doing it right every single day.
Yeah, but you know what, man? I think it's interesting. People always ask me, all right, so just to give you like a little quick context. So within Control to Controllables, it's a framework that I identified these 8 things that helped me get from Lorraine to where I am today. And, I put them into 2 groups, mindset controls and performance controls, how you think and how you act. And to me, people will always ask me, what's the most important one? And I always think it's belief, because it's the foundation. And I don't think there's anything in this world that has ever been great without someone first believing in it. So I always think that's the best, or the number one thing. But 1B would absolutely be consistency to me, because we are able to find a way to get ourselves to give our absolute best when we need to. We are a society that gets fired up, and we love motivation and inspiration, and ET, the hip hop preacher, to come out and get us charged up. Like, we love that stuff, but that stuff is motivation, and it's fleeting, and it's inconsistent, and it comes and goes, and ebbs and flows. But consistency, man, control, that's powerful, and that's in your control. So understanding, like, being able to kind of understand, like, the things that are not in your control and that are in your control. That's why this framework is so important. And these are the things, like, when you start focusing on the things that you can do, because going back to what my guy said earlier, like, I'm one of those people that believes that, like, control is one of those things it's finite. We don't have unlimited control. I think that we have a certain amount every day. Let's say we got $100 worth of control every day. And as soon as you wake up in the morning, there are going to be a number of things that happen that's going to test you and take a little bit of that money out each and every time. So, and by the time you get to the end of the day, you get back home to your family, you're short, you're tired, you're grumpy, you're angry, you're snapping at people because you have run out of control for the day. So the best way to be able to give yourself the best possible chance to have control when it really matters is to stop trying to control these things that you can't control. If somebody doesn't like you, you can't control that. If somebody is driving really slow and you're in a hurry because you got 5 minutes to get to the studio so you can get on mic, but then grandma's over here driving like 25 miles an hour, you can't control that. So but you can get up and you can leave a little earlier. There are different things that you absolutely can control. So that when it comes to consistency and all of the controllables, man, it's all about being able to have enough energy to be able to show up as the best person you can be.
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing, and wish you could drive with me to work every day. I think that would probably help some of my driving techniques. And I also think a big part of this too is, and this is when you talk about consistency, I think so much tied with mental health is physical health. And, for me, that is something I struggle with. Anybody that's watched the show over the last 4 years can see how my weight fluctuates so violently, from 50 pounds overweight to in shape, back and forth. And I've done that here for the last 8 years. My physical trainer gets very mad at me because I'm not consistent when it comes to that. Like right now I'm in the red. I'm trying to figure out how to get, and that just ties so much into your mental consistency, which for me in the last few months has certainly taken a downturn, if I'm being 100% honest. And so, and as you said, it's never a finished product, right? You can only control it for so far, but trying to develop that consistency or harness that, I think, is probably honestly my biggest struggle in life.
Yeah, I think that's probably something that we all share. I mean, it's being consistent, but then also the commitment, because that's one of the controllables in the framework. But I mean, I go back. I share a story of how the second most trajectory changing conversation for me that happened was in college. It's right when I was getting ready to transfer. So after 2 years at Ohio State, after my third year, I was about to transfer because things weren't going the way that I wanted it to. I thought I was really great. I had come off of the season before. I had, played really well, led the team in rushing touchdowns and all that stuff. And then they tried to make me a different position, and I got hurt. And I was like, man, this place sucks. And I pointed the finger at everyone else. The coaches are terrible. This offense, doesn't set up to my skill set. I'm the best guy out here. You see my stats last year. And the coach, if I may, he said, hey, Raymont, I checked the skip. He said, do you want to be the best football player you can be? I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's me. He said, I checked the skip class list last week and your name showed up twice. Why is that? And I was like, this guy's trying to bring some receipts to the meeting today, I see.
What the hell does that matter?
I had a bunch of excuses. And he said, what about after practice, you're the first person off the field and out of the facility. Why is that? And I had some more stories and excuses. And he said, you're one of the faster guys on the team, but when we do conditioning drills, you're bringing up the rear. Why? And I had more stories and excuses. And he was like, yo, my guy, you're not committed. You're not. You're interested. And interested people do what's convenient. So when the times are good and things are going well, they're easy to find. They're right there in the front. But when it gets challenging, they run, they hide, and they quit. Committed people see those obstacles as opportunities, man. And when that clicked, a light bulb for me is that I thought I was great, but I was not showing up as great in all these other areas because I was strictly focused on these measurables, being having the strongest bench press and the highest vertical jump and the fast 40-yard dash. But when it came to like leadership or conditioning or bringing my teammates along and, being someone that's understanding of like the entire team, players and coaches, man, my life started to change right just like that. And as soon as you do that, as soon as you start embracing like these other aspects, these other parts, first you have to identify like, if your physical health is important to you, then you got to get real about this. You got to get honest. And you got to make some changes and some choices. But first of all, you got to decide if you want to be committed or if you're just interested in it. Because if you're interested in it, that's fine. But you're never going to get to like where you want to be ultimately. And then you're going to continue to keep beating yourself up. And then that becomes a cycle. And it never allows you to get to that space where you can actually get what you want. You know what I mean?
And some people like to live in that space right there. It's more comfortable for them than to
it's
actually
way
enjoy
more
life.
Comfortable.
Yeah,
it's way more comfortable, man. Yeah.
Which is a scary place because that's ultimately you're just not going to feel fulfilled. I work on that one all the time. I'm wondering because what you're talking about is sort of a Mamba mentality, a little bit of Kobe in this conversation here. I'm curious, like who you saw in your NFL career, or even Ohio State career, wherever, who went about it the right way. That were really process oriented. That may, I don't know if it rubbed off on you or not. Maybe you thought they were crazy at the time, but like who actually had that when you were going through it?
You know what, man? Like the running backs that I was around at Ohio State, one of the reasons like it was so tough and so difficult was not just because the guys were talented, but these guys embodied like these different elements that turned out to be like allow them to be extremely successful. So there was this guy named Scotty Graham. Scotty was my mentor. He's the reason I went to Ohio State. He was a fullback, but he was also a running back. He ended up playing in the league for 5 years, and now he's the running back coach at University of Washington. Eddie George was everything coming out of Fort Union Military Academy, and he ended up fumbling his first year and never played again until his junior year. So Robert Smith, here's a guy who stood on principle. He was the all-around the player of the year, everyone's Gatorade player of the year and all that stuff, and had a great first year. And then they wanted him to do some things that he didn't want to do in terms of education, academics and class. So he stood on principle and left the team. And then, came back the following year, but he left the team altogether. So I was surrounded by guys like in different areas and different instances that was talented, but they also had success to me because they showed up as people that were resilient and adaptable, and they instead of just working hard, they did the hard work. These are all the elements of the framework that I ended up building, and I piecemealed all of that stuff and I put it all together for me, for like how I wanted to show up. So not only was I an ultraback on the field, but like off the field in terms of the things that helped make me like the person that I feel like is the best version of me was also like an ultraback as well.
Well, I hate to gas up Ohio State too much here. I'm an Ohio State hater, but like at the same time, like everybody we come across that comes from this university seems to just have the right mindset. I mean, even Doug Plank is somebody that I've gotten to know throughout the years, and he's somebody off the field that has just made his way in so many different facets. Like he'll wear you out to this day. Like he'll call me. Sometimes I'll get on the phone with him and he'll go for 2 hours of just inspirational after inspirational and what he's working on next. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to go to the gym in 20 minutes. And so like, I don't know what it is about you guys from Ohio State. This is the most gassing up I'll ever do about Ohio State, but it's real. Like you guys just really seem to be, all together.
I'll just add, I know you can respond. I got to sit with Eddie George for 20 minutes and I mean, as on point as they come. As on point as they come. I mean, it was, and Eddie belongs in the Hall of Fame, man. He's the only running back outside of Jim Brown that rushed for 10,000 yards and did not miss a game to start his career. So, I mean, there's a lot of luck in that, but there's also a lot of commitment too. So,
and he wasn't one of those guys that was like running out of bounds. I mean, Eddie was in between the tackle, had the speed to take it the distance. But you know what? A fun fact, as I was working on the book and doing like research in 1997. So when at Ohio State, it was Robert Smith was the starter, I was the backup, and Eddie was number 3. Okay, Robert leaves, and then I end up being the starter, and Eddie was the backup. Then I leave, and Eddie was the backup. Then Eddie's all right. That was in 92, 93. In 97. My last year with the Bears. After week 2, the number 1 rusher in the entire NFL was Eddie George. Number 2 was Robert Smith. Take a wild guess, guys, who the number 3 guy was.
Come on.
It was me. So all 3 of us were like the top 3 rushers, had the awesome. Highest like rushing average and all that. So like, yeah, man, I appreciate the kind words about Ohio State, man. It's a special place. And it's not for the faint of heart. It's not easy there. But the guys that persevere and make it through and get out, they end up being changed men, for sure.
How many Buckeye stickers did you end up with on your helmet at Ohio State?
It was totally filled up, my guy. I don't know the exact number. I had stickers to spare, though. Trust me. Yeah.
What did they get? Like, just for clarity, how do you get awarded those stickers? Like, what were the different ways?
I have no idea. You have to know that I don't have any idea about it. My guess is like big plays and that causing turnovers and the win and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, come on.
All right.
I don't know.
So
you have to ask the EQ guy.
Yeah.
We can. I hate to bring this up, but I just you were in Chicago as a Bear when the Wildcats went to the Rose Bowl. You had to be like looking over at Evanston, like, how did that happen?
I really did. Yeah. You said I hate to bring that up. It was great.
He's a Northwestern guy. He can't help himself.
I saw it. Every time he moves like that, I see that big. I see the Wildcat there. Well, but you know what, man? Like the city. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to tell you, Chris, I got to, my friend Nick Wright worked with Chris Carter for a period of time. And so we went, it's the first time and only time I've ever been to the shoe, and CC gets us down on the field. So we're in the corner of the end zone. I didn't go to Northwestern. I didn't, that wasn't my academic talent. So I went to Iowa for the record. But anyway, I grew up around here, so I rooted for the Cats because I like the underdog, all this. I'm on the field at the shoe with a Wildcat ski hat on, staying warm. They see me with CC. The security kicked us all out of there because this dude was wearing the Northwestern hat. Chris was like, they gave him the choice, either get that guy off the field or leave with him. He went with me to his credit, but we had to leave. They weren't going to have it.
Hey man, in Chicago, I remember like we were when the Wildcats caught fire and Darnell Autry and Pat Fitzgerald. Oh my! So I'm like, we're the the professional team. We're not doing that great, but the city just caught fire from this Wildcat story, and they won the Rose Bowl. And man, it was a Wildcat pandemonium out there. And then the next year, guess who we get as a running back on our team?
Oh yeah, Darnell
Autry. Yes. Yeah. So Darnell comes in in 97 that same year. He was as a rookie. Everyone wanted to talk to him and love him. great dude. Loved Darnell. He was a really cool dude, really cool teammate. But so man, I was right in the middle of all of that Wildcat mania when it was going down.
Hey, Raymond, we appreciate giving us 45 minutes here. It's super, super generous. I know you got a million things going on, but so if people want to find you, and perhaps we got some business people watching who want to bring you in, how do they do that?
Oh yeah, well, you can contact me on all social medias, all Instagram, LinkedIn, all of that stuff. I have a website. It's my name, Raymont Harris, RAYMONT Harris.com. You're able to book me there and see more of the content. I got things that are available. You can get the book. You can get the book anywhere. It's Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, all those places. So yeah, I'm out there. It's easy to find. It's just it's like whether or not you're serious about like making a difference. But I got you.
$25 for the hard copy, $19.99 for the paperback, $9.99 for the ebook. It's all there for you. I did my shopping. Control the Controllables. It's on the way.
There you go. Get you a book. Get you a book too, my guy. You need these. All y'all need these books.
Absolutely.
I think something's gonna be happening. I'm gonna be doing like a book signing like in Chicago, a couple of them. So I don't know exactly the details, and we don't have the date ironed out yet, but hopefully something like that will be happening next month.
Well, I'll keep an eye on that, and once we find out, we'll promote it on our end. Always happy to promote a good cause, of course, man. And it's nice to talk to you and get to know you here a little bit. You still a Bears fan? Do you still follow the Bears here?
Of course, man. It's my team. I love the Bears. So growing up, I was always, I'm from Cleveland, so I'm outside, small city called Lorraine. So I've always been a Browns fan, always, my whole life. And once I got drafted by the Bears, I was like, yeah, I'm a Bears guy. And so it's always been Bears, Browns. Of course, like two franchises have been struggling tremendously over the last 30 years. But so I want to say, I think it was maybe 5 years ago, the Bears played at Cleveland, at the Browns. And that was the moment where I was really tested on who is really my team. Showed up to the game. Of course, I had my Bears stuff on. Everyone mad at me, booing me, and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I have absolutely earned being a Bears fan, bro.
And I know as an Ohio State guy, I'm pretty sure that was the game that Justin Fields was sacked like 14 times, and was a pretty terrifying experience to put our franchise quarterback out there. So not great for the Buckeye that day. What did you think?
Myles Garrett went crazy that day.
Yeah, we were very upset here in Chicago of how that game went. But what did you think of this last year? And this Bears season was as magical a year as I've had as I was born in 1985. So this was up there in terms of special seasons.
Oh, it was the most special that I've experienced for sure. I remember like the good old days, but this man, I was so used to the team, like just finding ways to lose. And I went to every year I come back for a couple of games. I was at the alumni game, the opening, season opener, and they lost to the Vikings again in spectacular fashion, like we tend to do. And I was like, here's another season. And then as they continued on, they kept finding ways to win. And then they started winning in spectacular fashion. And I was not a Caleb Williams guy. I mean, I wasn't sold on him. I thought he was flashes of brilliance kind of guy. But man, he started getting better and better. I'd like for him to be a little more accurate still, like on some of the intermediate routes and things of that nature. But man, just to see the way the team is like gravitated around him, to see Coach Johnson, I like this guy as well. And man, I'm pretty happy and pretty fired up and excited about the direction that the Bears are going in.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about inspiration and leading and working as a team, I think Ben Johnson embodies a lot of the structures that you're talking about putting in place. So, just thought I'd get your thoughts on that before we cut you loose.
Yeah, for sure, man, no doubt. I'm a huge Justin Fields fan, and I was one of those guys that was like, man, I can't believe they got rid of Justin. I understand now.
Yeah, well that tees up the middle of the interview when you're saying you take all these calls because we tried to thread the needle on Justin, and that was a very spirited time in Bears conversation. It was hard to make people happy at that point. Hey Raymont, you're awesome, man. The Ultraback still delivering, damn it. So
that's what I do.
I love the way you're giving back is amazing. So keep going, and we look forward to doing this again down the line here.
No doubt. I appreciate it, fellas. All the best, man. All the best.
2-9.
Yes, sir. Bear down.
Yes, sir. Bear down.
My bad, Connor. I forgot to take the thumbnail off there.
All right. Hey, man, that was really appreciate all the people in the chat along the ways that seemed to enjoy the interview. Obviously, really appreciate Raymont and just being vulnerable, giving his time, talking football, talking Justin Fields at the end there. So that was I hope we can do more of those type of interviews. Not all the time, but every now and then. It's really those are kind of my favorite things to do, actually. So I'm glad we got to do that one.
Great interview. My favorite part was that you're not committed, you're interested. Like
right.
that stood out to me. At Ohio State, he's already a star back, but yeah, you're good, but you could be this much better. That was a cool message.
Well, just the margins at that level are they're so thin. How do you get yourself an edge? Well, what's everybody else doing? Well, what are you doing? How from whatever diet to workouts to just the mental side, all of it. It's to be successful at that. To get there is one thing, and then to stay there, and then to be on a high level of it. It's wild. All right, let's send you off into our weekend. On my drive out to Iowa City today, I was what am I gonna listen to? And I scrolling through YouTube, and I found an interview from guys I didn't know, Foster Swift Sports Network. And they had Dan Roushar on, the Bears offensive line coach. And the interview is like 40 minutes, and Roushar is as likable as you could possibly be.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of interviews lately. Teron Armstead, now this, and we got to get him on the show.
We're going to have to get him on. But so there was just the interesting things in there that I wanted to bring in. One, he was very clear. The Bears wanted Trey Smith. They were going after him. They were willing to pay him. He ends up signing back in Kansas City, which sucked for the Bears at the time, but it opened up Joe Thuney, and the Bears pounced. So, it
worked out pretty well, huh?
That worked out well.
Yeah.
But he was very transparent about it, so that was interesting. CHGO's efforts to get Trey here was, we did the best we could, but it all worked out.
A lot of flack for that. Turns out we were right. They were going to pursue him. I'm just saying.
Exactly right. And then he talked about Trapillo, and we wanted to, he was drafted to be a left tackle here, but when they put him there, he was scuffling. He lost how to play football. So he talked about how they had to move him back to get him back grounded, to start doing the things that you do feel comfortable or are comfortable doing. And then once he got himself back going in the right direction, then they moved him back, and he became the starting left tackle. I thought that was really interesting, and that's a great job by the Bears coaching staff.
That's a perfect way of saying that. Great job by the coaching staff identifying how we could get him right, but also it gives a lot of clarity as to what happened there. We thought they just kind of gave up on him. No, they were just recentering him a little bit to get him geared up for what was the ultimate role, which was the original plan. He was going to be the left tackle.
Right. It took the pressure off him. Here, just go over here. You'll be a backup at right tackle. Let's get you on the ground. Let's get you moving in the right direction. We're not burying you forever. Start working at it, and then we're going to bring you back over. So shout out to Ozzie. I know he's going through a ton now, but the way to do that and get to the point where he could contribute like he did last year, that's a big time job by the Rook and really the whole organization. And the last one was, Dan Roushar was planning on retiring. Dan Campbell, Lions coach, calls him up and say, "Hey, are you interested in getting back in?" And Roushar's answer was, "I'm very interested in the right situation." So, he met Ben, and he, for lack of a better way of putting it, he fell in love with Ben. And so he took the job. And Ben asked him, have you looked at our offensive line? He's like, "No, I haven't." He's like, "Well, why not?" He's like, "Well, because, I want to, I'm not going to, come in by looking at tape. I want to actually get in here and see it for myself so I can make a fair judgment." And then Ben told him, like, well, listen, we are very committed to upgrading the offensive line. We think we need 3 pieces. And they went out and got 3 pieces. They went out and got Dan Roushar. They went out and made the playoffs. They went out and had a phenomenal year. So all that being said, Dan Campbell helped out a guy in his division. So I know we're supposed to hate the Lions, but Dan Campbell did us a solid.
Did a big solid. And it was either that or retirement for Roushar, too. So, I mean, they had to pull him out of retirement. You had to get the recommendation from Dan Campbell, which also says a lot about his relationship with Ben. I mean, a lot of people theorize that the Lions might not like Ben Johnson that much. You don't go out and do that unless you still really respect the guy and appreciate what he did for your organization. So, I mean, props to Dan Campbell. Thank you. The line was great. And then it also shows a lot of character by Dan Campbell, trying to do well by the people that have done right by him too.
Yeah. I mean, it's at the end of the day, people's business. And it's also like, yeah, okay, I know that I'm giving the Bears a good offensive line coach. I believe in my guys. I believe in my coaching. We're still going to beat them. Like, I'm not throwing in the towel like, oh, no, they've got Dan Roushar. We'll be all right, and I'm going to do him a solid. It's a lot of confidence in himself, and it's also that's good humaning. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people in the competitive world, I ain't hooking up Ben Johnson. He's going to go compete against me. I'm going to tell him the worst coaches on the planet.
Yeah, but Dan Campbell's a much better man than I am. I'm not trying to help out the rival. I'm not doing it. No chance.
Well, at the end of the day, you might be coaching for that rival. You never know how the world spins in the NFL. So there's that side too. All right, I think we did it today, Steven. I think that's it.
All right, we got a couple super chats in here
with
too.
Some supers. Let's get some supers in here.
And I also started here's not a super chat, but some fun messages too. Logan Hinkst is a High Point alumni and a big fan of the show. I've never been happier for Hogue's despair, but sad to see it not on the show. Carm, will it be coming on the show in a couple weeks when Hogue returns?
Yeah, I'm assuming that Hogue is not watching right now on his trip to Hawaii. So my first question when he returns will be, what was the high point of your vacation?
He's going to hate it. He's going to. But Logan, you're going to love that. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, congratulations, Logan. You guys played unbelievable. I watched the last 5 minutes of it. Did you miss 2 shots? I don't know if you did. And that whoever that guard is that was throwing it in from everywhere with the ball barely touching his hand, and it's gone. That was an incredible watch. Wisconsin. I mean, it sucks for the Badgers, but High Point won that game.
Yeah,
flat out. You did.
They took it.
Your coach is insane too. And by the way, because they wore purple or what looks like purple, I'm claiming High Point because that's my Wildcat for this year. Normandy Plumber, $5. Thank God it's Friday. Save the animals in Bear Down. Absolutely, Normandy. We are animal friendly on the show all day long. Thank you for all the kind comments in the chat during the interview. Normandy, you're the man. Also from Bo Chan, I just had my wife order the book. Can't wait. You're the Bo Chan. You're the man. Every day, brother.
Chan is the man.
You're really top notch. So thank you. I took a picture of that in the chat. I'm going to send it to Raymont Bochan, so he'll find out. And then lastly, I got to put the glasses on for this one. Giuseppe Mandel. I appreciate the guest and thank you for being transparent as a suicide survivor and former athlete, former opiate addict, and now helping others to achieve sobriety. I appreciate what you do, and it's racist stigma. Thank you. $20 from Giuseppe. Hey, man, thank you for sharing, and congratulations.
So he just texted me, too.
Yeah, congratulations.
He said he had a typo in there.
Yeah, okay. Well, erases stigma. Not racist stigma. Erases stigma. I wasn't sure exactly where you were going with that, but okay, thank you.
Yeah, Giuseppe's doing a great job. He's out in Vegas. We met him when we were out there for our trip. He helps people get back on their feet after dealing with different struggles with sobriety and things like that. So great guy. He's got a great cause that he's working towards now after cleaning himself up too. So appreciate the super chat.
Tip of the cap to you, Giuseppe, and a reminder to all of us that life is a long game. You can turn it around wherever you're at. It's just, intention and all the things. Getting support ain't easy out there, team. I think we all know that. Peanut Head, you're the man. Good to see you, and good to see everybody. And good to see Greg having a great time focusing on his real-life project, Bragg's in the Stands, with the Boilers this weekend. Let's go, Queens.
I wish Purdue well. I hope they win
you?
for Bragg's. I do.
Okay.
I like seeing Bragg's happy. The alternative is mad. You want that? You don't want that.
It's good. That's good. Let's get him happy. Let's go, Purdue.
I do think there was a little bit of him pulling his punches on Hogue because he wanted to see how Purdue did first. But
of course.
We'll see. We'll have some sort of either happy or mad brags on Monday.
He's always worried about that karma when it comes to his team. All right, we'll get on out of here. Have a great weekend. Hit me up in the Discord, you Iowa fans. Maybe I'll run by you somehow, some way this weekend as I'm going hunting or something. We're going shooting. We might go fishing. And we're going to watch a lot of college basketball, and there might be a couple cocktails. So shouting out my guy Tim Ports, who led this affair. So I'm looking forward to it. All right. And if Jaqueline, if you're still watching out there, love you. Have a great weekend. Miss you. Love you. And I'll see you in Michigan. Don't worry about that, Steven. We'll explain next week. But don't worry. Okay. I'm not taking any time off. All right. Have a great rest of the weekend, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
We all silly like the mayor.